Now, quick disclaimer straight away, but today I'm giving a review and sharing some thoughts and opinions because honestly, I don't know what I learned today. I didn't learn a single thing. And I have to say, I am so sick and tired of our performances versus Man United over the past few seasons. Honestly, back in the day when Arsenal United were at the peak of our powers, these were titanic games, these were epic battles, there was skill, moments, drama, everything. These days it's an absolute shambles and it's a ghost of what it used to be. And for me, it literally is a mid-off. It's a battle of who wants to be the most middest team. I don't see any ability. I don't see any skill. I see terrible footballing performances. I see attacking passages of play from both teams that don't amount to anything whatsoever and a lack of quality throughout. For me, I think it's a terrible advertisement of the Premier League at this point in time, and it just shows you just how far both teams are in terms of recapturing those glory years, yeah? Wow. The frustration is actually unreal. I'm not even surprised by that last minute equaliser. Not at all. Not at all, you guys, because this is how these games have typically been. And it's literally like a recreation of our games last season versus them. Jorginho also scored a penalty as well. We deserve to concede at the end because I didn't see any composure. I didn't see any team management whatsoever. We got scared. We reverted back. We invited pressure that came from nowhere during that entirety of that second half performance. And in the end, an incredible header from Casemiro gets the equaliser. A bit of unfortunate from Kepa. Sometimes I wish this guy was like at least 2 inches taller, because if he was, this guy would be the perfect height to sub anything and everything in goal. But when you're inviting pressure, of course, these are the results you expect. And I kind of felt like, could put or not have made like a substitution after we got the equaliser to just, affect the pace of the game. It was literally attack after attack for Man United. We reverted deeper and deeper and deeper. And in the end, we have to be honest, this was a fair result again for both teams, because realistically, I didn't see any team today that really wanted to win things. And I think the game was reflected by both managers today who were more focused on having their tactical battles with each other compared to, changing the game and affecting things to, give their team that advantage to try and win this game. I'll talk up the tactics and pause it later on, but I was just seeing constant reactions throughout the entire of that second half. So I guess in the end, this is a fair result for both teams. But wow, does it get really boring, you guys? And I guess for me, I just don't see us with that attacking threat that I want to see. And sometimes I think to myself, why is it that as a fan, I can watch games like this and it feels like to this day, players still don't really have much of a connection to this day. Even though we have a new manager, we still see like different attacking lineups used week in, week out. And I've got like a few observations and thoughts and opinions. Realistically, I've always felt like we've been our most dangerous when we've had more of like maybe a target man type of striker or a focal presence up front. And I guess the reason why I'm even thinking about strikers and what type of forward we need is that there was a moment in the first half where Ben played a great ball in the box to find Aubameyang, and his first instinct was to take a touch instead of attempt a header. And I was just thinking to myself, taking a touch was the absolute wrong move, because not only are you closing the angles down for a shot, but you're giving more time for things to get blocked. So you had to take a header then. But realistically, it's not in Aubameyang's instincts really for him to think about using his head in those moments. So you can see why we don't really attempt too many crosses like that unless it's forever on the ground, because we don't have the personnel to take advantage of anything that isn't really scripted. With me sharing my thoughts and opinions, I want to just paint the context now. And that context is I'm trying to make sense and understand why is it that we don't look as threatening with our offensive game plans over these past few seasons. And I do kind of think maybe it's the personnel that we have on the pitch at times. Aubameyang is a great striker, but he hasn't normally been a Chelsea striker in the sense that he heavily relies upon service from his teammates. And if you play that counter-attacking game and look to use him as your focal point for through balls and behind, he will get you a lot of goals. But, normally at Chelsea, we've had strikers who have a presence and focal point where they can hold off defenses, bring the team into the game, push you further forward, and gives you link-up possibilities centrally as well too. Of course, the most famous example was Didier Drogba, Frank Lampard, but Again, you're looking at Diego Costa as well and what he was able to do by, bringing his teammates into the game with that type of layoff type of passes. And maybe is that something to consider? Because we know that we haven't finished our rebuilding at this point in time. We still need to sign more players. We know Todd Boehly and his team are actively looking to get deals done behind the scenes at this point in time. But the reason why I question this to begin with is because, listen, realistically, after Todd Boehly spent all this money to buy us and this grand vision he has for us, I mean, I think the plan is to make us one of the best teams in the world. So my mindset and head is more at, okay, what are the things we have to do to climb up those levels to be that type of team? Because we can't be that team if we don't have like attacking cohesion. And now that we have different management, for me, maybe it comes down to the type of attacking personnel we're relying upon. We've got like a Raheem Sterling who's more of a goal-scoring winger. He wants to make those late-man runs inside the box. That's what he did at Man City. You've got Aubameyang who makes those runs in behind as well too. This means that when you have players like this, you need to create a ton of opportunities and chances with your possession game. You need to have players that are creative, that take those risks, that are able to, play against compact defenses and able to, split teams open. You need to have that type of creativity in your team to really take advantage of attacking players that we have at this point in time. But realistically, in that midfield, do we really have those players to do that? Not at all. And I kind of feel like, wow, is the game really played on the ground these days? There was a time where I was like, back in the day, like when I was younger, the long ball football, which used to dominate the Premier League, used to make you sick at times. You're thinking, you're turning your head up, and your nose up at things like, wow, what is this type of football? This is like really bottom of the barrel. But I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm kind of missing seeing the ball in the air sometimes. It's just like when it's forever on the ball, on the ground, time and time again. How are you able to spark something different in your attacking plays? How are you going to be able to quickly switch the tempo of a game and take advantage of Man United defense and create those overloads against them? How can you do that? And for me, this is just a question I'm posing, and it's still something I'm really thinking about. But realistically, when you have a lot of midfield players that mainly play on the grounds, where is like the long-term benefits from that? I've not seen an improvement in terms of how we play and attack over the seasons when we have turned towards using guys that like to play on the ground predominantly. And I just kind of think with this whole rebuild, and it's just a question I'm posing, but if we're going to be splashing money and giving these guys 300,000 a week, 250,000 a week, ridiculous amounts of money, then for me, I want it to be like a cohesive team that really complements each other and, plays the type of football that for me makes that money worthwhile. And I think when you look at your top teams, they don't suffer with some of the issues we have. And in that sense, is there much difference between us and Man United currently? I'm not too sure. And maybe it's a bit disappointing knowing the fact that, we spent hundreds of millions this window and, I'm not really seeing too much of an improvement from that. So let's hope that the strategy and the vision is going to step up and work, because today it was just a bit disappointing. And I guess this now moves me on to discussing Graham Potter. And I think probably so far this was his maybe poorest game tactically. But I do have to say I give him massive credit for making that tactical change in the beginning of the first half by, taking Cucurella off, who I'll talk about this guy in a separate video. But we were losing that midfield battle so much against Man United. I'm looking at the stats. 60% versus 40% were forced back. We can't get the wing-backs forward whatsoever. And it's one of those tactical games where today, because we started using the wing-back system, it was about who was going to win that battle out wide. Under Erik ten Hag, we know that he likes his teams typically to have his fullbacks push up high and wide to double up with the wingers to help create those overloads out wide. And they did a very good job in forcing us back and forcing our wingbacks back. And I think what made things even harder too was the fact that we had no real build-up structure versus Man United. They had a very aggressive high press. They stopped all the passing angles, and this meant that Kepa could only really play balls long, which United were hoping would happen because they know Aubameyang is not going to win anything against Varane, for example. And the only times Kepa could really play out from the back was to find one of the wing-backs in Azpilicueta or Ben, who would get doubled up on. So, we were losing that tactical battle. Players weren't able to do anything, especially Jorginho. So Potter made the right substitution by taking off Cucurella to bring on another midfield player in Kovacic. We then reverted to I think a diamond midfielder, like a 4-3-2-1, We had those overloads centrally. We had the passing options and connections again. Centre backs had guys they could then pass to then help us play forwards. And then once we were able to do that, I honestly felt like we were the better team, and United really didn't have much to be able to counter what we did versus them. But it's just a shame that there wasn't too much goal threat from any of that. Of course, Sterling and Aubameyang were playing up front as like a split striker unit. And maybe on FIFA, me normally use something like that, if that works. But in real life, who was the guy inside the box to take advantage of anything? There's not enough presence from anyone inside there. I'm looking at midfield players where, a lot of these guys, other than Mason Mount, their game isn't to get inside the box to bring any kind of like offensive goal threat. So really, it just kind of felt like Potter and Erik ten Hag were really focused on cancelling each other out. And I think this is why this game was exactly what it was, because it was like a tactical affair from both the managers who kept reacting to each other's substitutions, etc., etc. Like one of the examples, second half, when Fred came on, replacing Sancho so he could match us in midfield. This safety first approach, listen, I understand it, I get it, but in terms of a spectacle, and maybe I don't know if I should feel bad for this, but sometimes I want to see football I can enjoy at times. I'm not going to be too negative from Graham Potter, of course, he's just come here, but I think now it's starting to paint a bit of a picture in the sense that we've seen Lampard, Tuchel, as well as Potter, and it's just like they've all tried to find a variation on how to get the best out of the squads. And it does go back to the points I was mentioning earlier, with Todd Boehly now looking to really revamp, restructure and rebuild this team. I want it to be rebuilt with a proper core vision in mind. I look at Man City, for example. They didn't do things accidentally. They didn't just sign players who were available in a window and they thought, wow, let's take advantage of his availability. There was a plan in terms of how they want to play as a team. The players, they wanted to make that vision happen, and that focus to only make sure that vision came true. So I do hope that now that there's stupid amounts of money at this club currently, we do the right things to help us go to that next level. Because honestly, if we don't make the right changes, we'll always be that type of, maybe I'm sounding harsh, but that like Atleti-ish level type of team, in the sense that, listen, in cup games, we can win any cup if we have a great season or a great run of form. But realistically, we'll never reach those heights to really challenge for the league title currently, because, now you need to have like better cohesion, players that to fully complement each other to a different level, to build those attacking patterns and cohesions and understandings on the field. That's what we don't really have as a team, right? Whenever we're attacking or playing, players always play the obvious pass to each other time and time again. That they don't have that type of understanding and connection of, wow, we love playing together. This is what I think the only guys I've actually seen who have that connection really are Jorginho and Kovacic. They're the only two that really have that. And I guess what's that really saying in that sense? But I don't know, you guys. Maybe this review is completely different to how it was going to be originally. But I just think after that manner in which we, conceded that equaliser at the end, just the frustration of, wow, it feels like Groundhog Day, the same type of game, the same type of performance. Doesn't matter who the manager is, and doesn't matter how much money we're wasting as well too. It's just not making sense, and it's just a real mid game today and a very mid performance. Of course, I'll end things in a few positives. Thought Trevor Chalobah, the guy is stepping up differently, and for me, comparing how Koulibaly and Fofana have performed in the shirt compared to Trev, I can't compare. Trev's just been better, and I'm being objective. I don't care that he doesn't have any money behind his name. The guy has stepped up and is playing at a different level right now. Long may that continue. I'm trying to think who else really stood out today. I can't really think of too much. There wasn't too many great opportunities. Yeah, Breuer, nice to win the penalty. Jorginho buried that, as you're expecting, I guess. But to be honest, I'm not too sure, you guys. It's I don't know. I don't know why I'm even feeling like this, but it just kind of feels like, right, this is Groundhog Day. It's the same type of performance, same type of game. It's just like, going nowhere fast. It's still at that same level. We haven't pushed on and moved on. I think Nkunku's signing is a massive one. Let's hope we get it right, because it's not the first time we spent big money on someone for him to not make sense in the system we're trying to play or build. But regardless, you guys, that's all my thoughts and opinions I'm sharing. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions behind what I'm saying as well too, and please share your own. How did you make sense of this game today, and where do you think we're going right now? So on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is BlueLionsTV. Catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.